Hello, everybody. This is NLP Radio on stream.
Hello.
And again with us today, our permanent guest, Alexander Gerasimov, NLP trainer, of training's NLP practitioner, NLP master, a famous negotiator in Russia. Geography of trainings and seminars led by Alexander is 22 countries and 70 cities. I'm always proud to introduce our guest. And me, Olga Sarkisova, I'm a linguist and a presenter of English NLP Radio. Today we'll talk about neurological levels, Robert Dilts' pyramid. Alexander, would you tell us what is it actually and why is it called a pyramid?
Okay. The pyramid of logical levels is a method of describing the currently existing world, a current situation. It allows for summarizing the entire diversity of our experience as a structure which, upon a closer view, is pyramid-shaped. First, it consists of several levels, and the fullness of those levels is reducing upward like in a pyramid. There is more substance at the bottom and less at the top. This structure complies with certain rules, and when we describe those rules, we can imagine a pyramid-shaped structure. Well, I'd better explain what levels it consists of and how those levels correlate to each other.
Okay. As far as I remember, this is something about environment, skills, behavior, and so on and so forth. Tell me, please, does it mean that there is a principle? The principle that every second level, every higher level influences the previous?
Есть такая взаимосвязь.
Such correlation does exist. There are some other not so obvious rules which we will be talking about today. Yes, indeed, the first level is the level of environments or objects. For example, those are simple things around you, which you can take in your hand or just see. Those are not of any specific value to you. Those are just things that answer the question, what is it? In some cases, the question is, who is it? Providing that you have nothing to do with that person. For example, you looked out the window and saw a person who is, in some sense, nobody to you. This person belongs to the environment. Those can be things such as, for example, a phone, a table, a microphone, or a lamp. They do exist, but it doesn't matter. It is the first level. This level is critical to some people. They perceive the world through this level. You must admit that there are people who consider exactly things to be of certain importance. First of all, they see what another person is wearing. They pay attention to the color, to the brand name, to the clothes design, or to some attributes, or to some other details accompanying things. So there are people who are interested in things. Things. Only things.
That's very, for me, surprising, because I have never been interested in that, but I definitely believe.
Или другой пример, вот, допустим,
Another example. People are watching a movie in a cinema. Some will not be following the plot of that movie, but will pay attention to places where the movie was filmed, to the costumes that characters or actors are wearing, to some entourage or locations. Those things do matter to such people, not the movie plot, not the actors, but how it looks like. A nice picture.
Okay, so this is environment level, it's quite clear. Right, let's move on to the next.
Следующий уровень – это поведение.
The next level is behavior. It refers to some actions that we perform constantly, occasionally, regularly, spontaneously. Those are actions that are expressed by verbs in linguistics and answer the question, what to do. For example, to write, to speak, to dance, to sit, to stand, and so on. Those are some actions reflecting interaction between the first and the second levels, between environment and behavior. Before a phone could appear on a table, it should first be taken out from a bag or from a pocket. So interaction takes place. We use an upper logic level behavior to influence a lower logic level environment. Please take note of that fact that there are more nouns than verbs.
In which language? In Russian?
Well, I think yes. If we take, for example, Ozhigov's dictionary of the Russian language and compare the number of nouns, not any nouns, but those referring to things, and the amount of verbs, we will find out that there are more nouns than verbs. I suppose so.
I would like to note that it depends very much on the language and culture. Let me tell you a couple of words here. Russian language abounds with nouns. That's very true. English and American abounds with verbs. There are many more verbs, phrasal verbs, dynamic verbs, different. This is a language of actions and verbs, while Russian is not. So it's an interesting point we've noticed. Okay, let's move on.
Well, some people, while communicating, pay attention to not external attributes such as appearance or something, but to actions. For example, you may hear a girl saying that one should judge actions, not words. To some people, actions do matter. What a person is doing. In the example with a movie, such people pay attention to what characters are doing, where they are going to, what they are bringing or delivering. It could be an action movie where something is permanently exploding and someone is constantly driving. It is the behavior level. And everything is rather measurable here. You can easily see whether or not a person is doing or has done something. The same is true to a phone. Either it is on the table or it is not. On the first and the second levels, everything is very specific, measurable, and let us say tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, what's the third one?
The third level is rather large, and something interesting begins here. It is the level of capabilities or skills. It is the level of emotions. It is the level of strategies. In this case, the word strategies refers not to an operational or technical plan, but to a repetitive sequence of verbs, the same simple verbs from the previous level. For example, a person has a strategy of motivation, or a person has a strategy of waking up in the morning. If we analyze this sequence in detail, we will find out that we wake up the same way every morning in repetitive business days. We can figure out verbs which the sequence as a capability consists of. For example, a person says, "Oh, it is so difficult to me to wake up in the morning." If we ask this person to describe the process in detail, we will begin to study that strategy. Some people may even experience insight, a revelation, or "I have the same strategy of waking up in the morning. My alarm clock is ringing." That person describes the process in detail. "I turn it off. I continue to lie in a bed with my eyes closed and imagine, I remember my dream and imagine what I'll be doing. A second alarm clock is ringing. I open my eyes somehow. I feel that I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to get up. A third alarm clock is ringing. I get up very slowly and, hitting corners in my room, I'm moving to my bathroom to wash myself." Oddly enough, but this sequence will reoccur again and again. Of course, there can be exceptions. For example, on weekend, when you don't need to go anywhere. Or, on the contrary, when when you can
Or when you have
when you have to wake up quicker. Yes, in that case, the strategy will be different, but a person has a basic strategy. If we are talking about waking up, and for example, a first-time meeting strategy, a day planning strategy, a strategy of delivering a speech, a suitcase packing strategy, a car driving strategy, all these are our repetitive strategies. In other words, our capabilities and skills. It is a very interesting level because it also conventionally includes emotions, as emotions are so our emotions are also strategies, repetitive behavior. For example, we saw something and began to experience an emotion, and we express our emotions all in the same manner. For example, we hear a song, it refers to anchors, and we discussed in the previous podcast, you remember anchors, which makes us conjure up nostalgic memories. And at this moment, we begin to breathe slower, to recall images of the past. Tears begin to well up. We want to sit down. We want to stop. Our muscle tone has decreased. It is also a certain sequence. At this level, repetitive sequences. This level comprises not only our good habits, but our bad habits too. For example, smoking, nail biting, being late, getting angry or irritated.
I know one very, very total problematic one when you feel stressed out, eating sweets. Start eating sweets when you feel stressed out. It's also a strategy, isn't it?
Yes, as early as a person begins to comprehend that strategy, he or she can add an element to it, or remove an element, or choose either to continue or discontinue that strategy. Gradually, that person becomes free. The awareness line is lying exactly here, when a person begins to realize, oh, how I understand why I am being late, or now I understand why I'm getting angry, or now I understand why I'm getting into bad mood, because this melody is sounding. Oh, how I understand why it is difficult to me to wake up. Because, that person says, for example, because I imagine too much negative situations. So if an element is replaced or corrected, such strategy can be gradually changed. This is the third level, the level of skill.
So we talk about strategies here in level 3 and emotions as well. Okay. So the higher, the more interesting. What's the fourth one?
The next level is the level of values, or needs. Those are our specific values expressed by rather abstract nouns. For example, a person considers honesty, courage, kindness to be of importance, or personal qualities such as respect, openness of people. So it appears that this level determines our capabilities and skills. For example, if a person considers health to be a value, he or she should surely have certain skills that confirm this value. For example, it may be going in for sports as a habit. It may be a healthy diet. It may be an intimate circle of contacts, or like-minded person. If we take justice, honesty as a value, sometimes it requires the capability of defending your opinion, the capability of discussing something openly and honestly, to confront in some cases, which consists of, specific behavior that almost guarantees specific environment. For example, if a person considers respect to be a value, relative skills will be as follows: the capability of building rapport, the capability of figuring out, of filling borders of another person. It will consist of certain competences in the form of behavior. I mean, a person has to be able to calibrate rather accurately, to keep distance, to talk or not to talk on specific topics. So gradually we have a shape of a small pyramid. values generate skills which create certain behavior which gradually determines the environment around a person. So if you peep into a person's room, you'll easily be able to guess what is critical to that person, judging by what is happening in that room. For example, whether or not health, personal growth, comfort, or creative cares is critical to that person.
Let me have a word here, please. We have stopped for now on values and beliefs. I would like to specify for our listeners the following point. When you enumerated those abstract nouns, like respect, love, justice, and whatever, you have mentioned that those are the qualities. Qualities. Are values always the qualities and only, or not necessarily?
Every value has certain criteria, which allows us to examine whether or not that value is followed. The word justice may have absolutely different, even opposite criteria. Someone believes justice to mean everyone has an equal share. Someone else believes justice to mean the harder you work, the more you earn. Someone believes honesty to mean always telling the truth. Someone else believes honesty to mean to tell the truth only when you are asked for. Sometimes when we are tracking simple words, terms, for example, while listening to a politician saying, I stand for everything good and I stand against everything bad, I stand for justice and honesty, can you say no to such person? But it's much easier to ask him, what exactly do you mean? What does it mean to you? After such a question, that person becomes thoughtful and begins to give some examples. Some situations, for example, I consider justice to be, or I consider honesty to be. So, asking questions, what exactly do you mean? What does it mean? We descend to a lower level in the pyramid of logical levels, and gradually we learn more about that person. Gradually we obtain a vision of the pyramid with regard to that person. You must admit that. When your grandma says healthy diet, or when you say healthy diet, or when your gym coach says healthy diet, everyone means something different, totally different. So it's very important to be able not just to wear a word expressing a certain value and consider it to mean what it means to you, but to figure out its exact meaning.
Right. Okay. Up to here, it's quite understandable. On the same level, as far as I understand, we are having not only values, but also kind of programs in our mind, something we believe in, something we are programmed with, the so-called beliefs. But what about beliefs?
I noticed that some NLP trainers place beliefs to that level. I think it's not quite correct, because beliefs are interrelations between logical levels.
Would you please speak a bit slower? This is something complicated you're saying now. Would you please specify?
A very simple example. There is a value, for example, comfort. If we ask a person, what does comfort mean to you? He will express his belief. For example, comfort is living in a big apartment, so we get a combination of two experience components, the term comfort and behavior, living in a big apartment, behavior and environment simultaneously. It is that person's belief. As for another person, comfort means living in the woods. For somebody else, comfort means living uptown, having a good infrastructure. Or, for example, we may ask a person, what is material wealth to you? And that person begins to gradually express his or her beliefs. For example, material wealth means a certain monthly income. What is a success? Or, for example, what is justice? A person will express his or her beliefs combining the level of values and lower levels. A person may say, family means happiness, thus defining a value through another value. Or, for example, richness means risk. It is a belief. When several logical levels are somehow interlaced, it is not about the level of values, because above it goes the level of identity, the role that we play. And you can hear a person, a girl, uttering a definition of a true man, or a young man uttering a definition of a true woman. Those definitions will also represent beliefs. It doesn't correlate with the level of values, because at the level of values we use specific abstract nouns, and everyone believes those to mean what he or she thinks.
Very interesting. So what does it mean? What does it mean that this kind of pyramid, the hierarchy that we are having, that it's kind of wrong, this level, that values and beliefs are established on the same level? Can we consider that it's wrong? It's not quite right?
I haven't read Robert Dilts' book. Well, I've read it in Russian, but I haven't read it in English. Maybe it's some translation issues. For example, a translator who hasn't completed an NLP course translated it illiterally, using meanings he or she believed to be behind certain words. I admit that it may be my reinterpreted understanding. When Robert Dilts wrote about the level of values and beliefs, he didn't consider beliefs as a process of convincing somebody, or as a result of that process as convictions.
I see. I see. We should be accurate with translation and meanings here. Right, okay.
When a person says convictions, convictions are elements of experience which are somehow interconnected. It's not about the level of values.
Right, right. Logically. Mm-hmm.
Человек может сказать, настоящий.
For example, a person may say a true woman can cook borscht, well, a beetroot soup. There is no value level here. There are the identity level and the level of strategies, and that's it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, clear. All right. Very interesting. Let's move on to the next one. The higher and higher levels. We've got two more levels, as far as I understand. So what's the next one?
The next level, the next level is the level of identity, or of identification, as some people call it. It is exactly about certain roles and sometimes about components of personality, sometimes about personality traits. When a person can describe himself using an attribute, it may be a professional identity. I am an NLP trainer. It may be a national identity. A person may say, I am Russian, or I am an American, or I am a Jew. It may be, let us say, it may be a personality trait identity. A person may say, I am good, I am smart, I am principled person, and so on. I am the person may say, I am the person who gets up early in the morning. All those are some components of personality, which like some cortical, well, they are rather regularly activated, cortically activated, and those identities have their own values. For example, if a person has a personality component which is responsible for success, I am successful. It surely has certain values apart from success itself. For example, I'm able to learn fast. Okay, a capability, or it is a capability. Or I read books about success. It is some sort of behavior, a capability. And attributes of a successful person, such as a well-ironed shirt, a new suit, Moscow City, and other examples of being successful. So we gradually assemble a pyramid. We can build up a similar chain for a professional role.
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about parts of personality. I know that many psychologists simply don't believe in parts of personality. So when I mention it, sometimes at a seminar or somewhere, I said there's like a sub personality in me which says, and they answer, no, they don't exist. Those sub-personalities simply don't exist. It's no. Would you maybe speak a bit more about what is it? Different sub-personalities. What is it?
Okay, if they don't believe that those exist, they just have a part of personality that constantly doubts about information they are delivered. I agree that some people may have many components of personality, not in the psychiatric sense, not like in the movie title split, where a person had 23 or 24 sub-personalities that were even not acquainted with each other, but in psychological sense to explain why a person makes certain decisions. For example, a person is alive and kicking and willing to conquer the world in the morning, tired in the midday, romantic in the evening, and so on. These are states that are different even in terms of psychology. It is not about emotions, it is about strategies, a set of values. Because a person believes in certain values in the morning but begins to believe in other values after having lunch. And that person believes it absolutely other values when he or she is hungry. And those are absolutely different sub-personalities. I don't mean it doesn't exist. I just want to point out that a person is multifarious. And yes, there are people having a few of such identities. Such people are able to rather easily make decisions. Those are more goal-seeking. Those are more congruent than people having about 300 sub-personalities who consult each of those sub-personalities before making a financial decision. It will take such person a rather long period of time to make a decision that would satisfy all sub-personalities. While a person having only one identity will be spending all the time on playing a single role, like for example scientists do. Such person considers himself to be only a scientist, and all the other roles, such as a father, a parent, a son, a Russian, a patriot, a Muscovite, they don't matter. So you can name those sub-personalities, but that person doesn't associate himself with them. He's only a scientist, and his
только в контексте ученые, а остальные роли, например, роль там отца, родителя, сына, там русского.
Yeah, that's very sad. Okay. Okay, so I believe that what we are discussing now, dear audience, just to let you know, it's just the beginning. It's just the fundamental part. In order to detailize it and bring many more examples in the second podcast, which we will soon have, where Alexander, I think, will give many more examples of each. But now we continue discussing, and the final one is the level of purpose. Level of purpose. What is it?
Уровень миссии.
The level of mission is that great, that more, when everyone I believe has in principle, but what is not always in the field of awareness. You must admit that some people know nothing about their values and about their identity, to say nothing of mission. As far as it is a pyramid and we are accustomed to put focus on a certain level, to some people the environment level is critical. To other people the identity level is of importance and being aware of their role in this society. Mission is, let me use a rather strange phrase, mission is a goal of bigger systems which certain identities belong to. Once again, mission is a goal of bigger system which certain identities belong to. If we distinguish a person by 2 or 3 of his most powerful identities, or even by a single one, we can say we about that identity. For example, I am an NLP trainer. It is my rather strong identity. I can prove it. I have values, capabilities, and behavior. A huge amount of strategies. For example, while recording this podcast, I am expressing the identity of an NLP trainer, and this identity includes some we. For example, I can say we are NLP trainers. There are some numerous NLP trainers. The NLP system as a egregor has a bigger goal. And when I realize that goal and coordinate my values and capabilities with that goal, I can say that I realize the mission, my mission as a mission of a bigger system which I belong to through my identity. I have a couple of other roles. For example, I am Russian. I am a negotiator. I can combine these three identities into a single one, as if all these three systems in my head can come to an agreement to consider it something more meaningful, a goal. For example, I, as an NLP trainer, a man and a Russian, am bringing the Russian NLP to the global community. Isn't it a role? Isn't it a mission?
Exactly what you are doing right now.
Yes.
Okay, so this project is very significant, I believe, in this case. I think that I have heard this information before. As for our listeners, those who hear it for the first time, I believe it could be a bit challenging, a bit complicated. And we promise that the next podcast will be dedicated to more clarification and examples. So you might re-listen some of the moments Alexander has said. But anyway, thank you for this wonderful introduction of the topic, neurological pyramid of Dilts, and hear each other in the next podcast.
Thank you very much.
Bye.